UTMB, like every single climb is steep, like including the first little bump when you look at the elevation profile. Like, okay, well, that's a nice warm up. And I do remember showing up in the tent at the aid station on top of the hill. I was like, whoa, if this is like the shortest climb of the day, I don't know what's going to happen.
What's going on?
I have no idea.
As usual.
Good start. Tell me, what's going on? GottaRunRacing.
We Run the North virtual, celebrating Canada's national parks, is going strong. And we got lots of people out there across the country that are running 10K.
Hiking, biking. Yep.
Yep.
What park did you feature this month?
So for March, it is grasslands in Saskatchewan.
Oh, that's right.
Sunny Saskatchewan.
The grasslands.
And it's not as flat as one might think.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the Monarch Relay is going strong as well. We're still looking for runners to take on 30K or 50K segments in Ontario, starting September 19th, ending October the 9th. We're going from Peterborough down towards Toronto, along the lakes, and then up back towards Barrie. It's 1,700 kilometers.
Doesn't it go all the way to London first?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I said along the lakes, including Erie.
Oh my god, that's far.
It is far. 1,700K
Oh my
within
God.
Ontario.
Oof.
So if you're interested, check it out, because it's a relay. It's going to be COVID safe and friendly. It's going to be awesome. And then the virtual for the Monarch we'll talk about next time, because that's coming up soon too.
Wow, this is incredible. So where can you sign up for all this?
You can check us out on Race Roster by looking up We Run the North and the Monarch Ultra, or you can find the links via GottaRunRacing.com.
Cool. So on today's podcast, we have...
Riccardo Tortini
Ooh.
from Italy.
And again, we came across his name because of the
Western States.
Canadian Trail to Western States.
Western States.
He finally got in after 6 years? Don't know yet.
6 years.
I think so.
And he lives in Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah.
And he is a third generation ultra runner.
Who can say that?
Woo!
Could you imagine your parents running ultras? One thing. Then my grandparent also was an ultra runner. Whoa!
His parents still run, too.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to find out about that.
All right, all that coming up.
Buongiorno, Riccardo. Come stai?
Benissimo, grazie. Hi, guys.
Excellent.
We love Italy, so I had to throw a little bit of that in.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. You guessed it right. That's where I'm originally from.
That's right. Which part?
Near Milan.
Okay.
Northern Italy. Yeah, just south of Milan. Short drive. It's probably 35, 40 kilometers.
And when did you move away?
I moved to North America in 2011, so 10 years ago. I started my PhD in the States and lived in the US for 4.5 years or so. And 2015 moved to Vancouver. I had a little bit of time back in the States for work a couple of years ago, and I'm back permanently now.
Yeah. Very nice. But you left such a beautiful part of Italy, and we're not far from the mountains.
It's true, and I took advantage for that with UTMB a couple of years ago. Having family and friends in the area had a huge support. It's always wonderful to go back, but I'm glad I'm living where I'm living now.
Yeah,
I really love it around here. Yeah.
How is your family in Italy with all COVID going on? How are they doing?
They're doing fine. It was a bit stressful, especially at the beginning. Coincidentally, actually, the first outbreak everyone has talked about back over a year ago now, February 2020, happened in the hospital I was born in, and my parents still live in the area. So, like literally a 5-minute drive from the first case in Europe.
Wow.
So yeah, they were in full-on lockdown for a little while, I'd say. Summer was much better. They had the chance to travel, go to their cabin and that type of things. They're back up north now. They're doing the best, but they're still isolated.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Well, let's talk about something positive. So, how did you how did you become a runner?
Well, it was easy enough for me. I come from a family of runners. It dates back to 2 generations ago, actually. My grandfather, both my parents and my grandfather, they all have run and still run ultra marathons. Unfortunately, not my granddad. He passed a few years ago, but so I was always exposed to it. But as every good Italian boy, I was initiated to soccer to start with, and I played soccer for 16 or 17 years, something like that. But then over the summer, in the off season, it was always like, oh, my parents are going for a run. I may join them on a Sunday morning or so, kind of like stay in decent shape for soccer season.
Yeah.
Until I did not go back to playing soccer anymore, and I became a runner full time in a way. That was 2006, if I remember well. So yeah, 15 years ago, and always exposed to both road and trails and short and long distance. So it was a good and healthy variety of distances and terrains for sure.
Wow. So what races did your grandfather do? Was there a lot of races back then?
Not a ton, and especially thinking of the 70s, back almost 50 years ago, whoever ran those distances, and we're not even talking about marathons, 100K or longer as well, was always seen as a bit odd in a way, in a good way, but like, well, why would you want to run that far? And it's still happening 50 years later. So you can only imagine, right? In the 70s, there's a race both my parents and my granddad did, starting in the 70s, and then my mom joined later on. It's called 100 Chilometri del Passatore. It goes from Florence across the Apennines to the other side near Bologna.
Right.
And they're still doing it year after year. So eventually I'll jump in and run that one as well. It's a road race, though, I have to say. It's a big climb to start with from Florence up to the pass, and there's a big descent down, and the last 20 kilometers or so are completely flat, which is
wow.
I don't know, it's not very enticing.
So how did Western states factor into your running career?
I started running more consistently on trails around 2011, 2012. And then 2013, I ran my first ultra, always in the upper Midwest in Minnesota. Didn't go great, but it was good enough. It's also a funny story, I think, because I was training for a road marathon. I ran the road marathon, did fine, but I wasn't really happy with my results.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a race series happening the weekend after the 4th of July in Copper Harbor, Michigan, on Lake Superior.
Mm-hmm.
I had run it the year before, and a friend came and ran that year. And we were talking about how disappointing my marathon was. It's like, well, why don't you sign up for a 50K next weekend? I was like, why not? And that's how it started, really. And then from there, goal after goal after goal. Starting in 2014, I ran my first 100-miler with the ultimate goal to qualify for Western States and eventually, get in and run the race. It was with a bunch of friends from Wisconsin. It was one of the races I have the most fond memories. Obviously, it's first 100-miler, so who can't forget that type of experience. But starting in 2014, year after year, I got my qualifier, even on bad years in a way, meaning like injuries or struggling with training at that type of things. But it was always the goal for the season to punch my ticket for Western States. So eventually I got in, and we'll have to wait until 2022 now.
That's right.
So your first ticket race was the Pinhoti?
Pinhoti 100, down in Alabama. It's a very well organized race, very well participated by the locals. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly so in a way, but obviously you can't expect too much topography down there, right? So quite flat and fast.
Pinhoti, is that high altitude?
No, not at all. There's they call it mountain, Chiha Mountain. It's more like a hill. It's a glorified mountain, but it's the highest point in the state, so it makes sense. And that is the biggest climb of the day. That's about it. So lots of hills. It's never completely flat. It's always slanted in a way, but no major topography for sure.
First, you did not get into Western States on your first ticket. And then you had to find another race, right?
That's right.
And what was that race?
FatDog. Interesting. I've ran 100 miles before once. I might as well pull the trigger on 120, right? So yeah, that was my second 100 miler or 100 plus. Fantastic experience. It poured on us and stormed all day, night, and the next day, which is incredible for being middle of August. But it was a great experience, seriously. That's one of the races I've been back not to run myself, but to pace and volunteer, pace friends, crew as well, and volunteer at the race. It's some of the best trails you can find around here for the type of trails I like. They're all runnable trails, lots of ups and downs, long sustained climbs, but never overly technical, which is my bread and butter.
Right.
So not getting in again, what is your next move?
The next move was, okay, well, now I have 2 years. I was always focused on the process rather than, obviously, anyone can get lucky and be picked on their first year. But I've always approached this as a process rather than I want to get in as soon as possible. Whenever it's my time, I'm fine with it. So I decided to switch it up a little bit and go around the Canyons 100K because it covers the second half of the race, basically from Forest Hill back to Swinging Bridge, turn around all the way down to Rakichaki, turn around and back to the Cal Loop, back up to Forest Hill. So basically the idea there was, okay, I've been to the race already. I've paced a friend. I know I'm learning the logistics. I want to get more and more experience on the actual course.
Mm-hmm. And when you did the Canyons, right? That was the race, the Canyon? Yep. 3 times. Yep. Was it 3 different results, or is pretty much close to what you're thinking?
in terms of
one year was harder than another, or
the first year was mostly to really enjoy myself and study the course, and I found myself running with Bob Shibest most of the race, all the way down to almost Cal 3. Then he took off and I kind of crumbled a bit, but great experience as well. And it's always best when you have company, right? You make friends and such, and it's still a really good friend. So really happy with my result that year. I had no idea about time, really. I go out there and do my best, and whatever time I clock, that's fine. Then the next year, of course, I knew it was a warm year. The first year I went was quite warm, but I did okay, I think, in the heat. And it's end of April versus end of June. It's a huge difference. So yeah, it's hot, but we're still talking of in the canyons, probably 35 degrees or so. It's still manageable. It's not the 50 degrees we hear about. I definitely took advantage of the water and all the streams and the creeks in the canyons, which is something I would recommend anyone to do on race day, regardless of how hot it is. Just take 30 seconds for yourself, put yourself in the water and cool off. It goes a long way. Then the next year, obviously I had a reference time. I don't like to use placement as a reference because it really depends on who shows up on that specific day. Right. But I did have a reference in terms of time for myself. So the goal was to do better than the year before, which I did, barely, but still better, on a cooler year. So I was a bit disappointed. I like not to brag or anything, but I had the lead up until the last aid station, and the guy who was chasing me down all day passed me at like twice the speed at that point. So I did try to keep up for like probably no more than 30 seconds, and I realized
He was fishing.
and I just knew it was a mess.
In your third year at the Canyons, now you've had, different experience.
Yeah. So we're talking of 2017 now. Went back, Canyons, and then what did I run in 2017? Oh, 2017 actually I was training for something. I didn't really have a goal race in mind, but I had my qualifier for Western States. I still had, is that right? No, 15, 17. I was considering running a hard rock qualifier that year because my FatDog qualifier expired in 2016. They lasted 2 years. But I was also considering going back to Pine Palm, to be honest. So anyways, I was training and running down a trail. There's a family with a boy. The boy cuts in front of me, and to avoid him, I take a spill and tear my meniscus.
Oh.
So I had to take instead the rest of the season off, which is fine. Again, it's just another
fine. I would buy myself a 22-4 of beer just to
drown your sorrow.
Drown my sorrow.
I may have done that while in denial, like during week 1 probably. But other than that, I don't know. The more it happens, the more one is willing to accept what life throws at you, right? So that's okay. I had my qualifier. I was obviously bummed, but it's all right. So I started making plans for 2018, and I'm like, you know what? I have enough points for UTMB instead. Put in for UTMB in 2018, and didn't get in via the lottery, but at the time I used to collaborate with Trail Running Magazine in Italy, and they were more than happy to share their bib with me and write about my experience. So that's how I got into UTMB.
Excellent.
Somewhat sponsored by the magazine, basically.
Awesome.
Which was really cool. It was a great experience. I had to, go and bug all the pro runners and all the elites before and after and during. It was fantastic. It's a bit daunting in a way because one would like to just have some time for him or herself. But all in all, a fantastic experience.
Oh.
Very good.
I got a question about UTMB and FatDog, just quickly, because your time for both was generally the same, about 28 hours and change. So I'm curious to know, what's the similarity between the two? Are they both equally hard, or one was just a better year than the other, or if you can compare the two?
It's something I give some thought, because almost to the minute, actually it is to the minute, I think, the same time, which is bizarre, right? Different distance, obviously hard races. I'm not gonna lie, they're both difficult races, but in different ways.
The reason I ask is because I also got accepted to UTMB, and I have till 2023 to go. But now I'm thinking, should I do FatDog first just to get an idea, or
a longer?
You do get a pretty good idea. I think the main difference there is, FatDog has the regular course. There's a long stretch along a river trail, which is it's never flat, obviously, but it's never more than like a gentle grade, right? It's a riverside trail, so that adds up to the distance. But in terms of elevation gain and change in general, I think they might be comparable. What I realized that at UTMB is the trails are very runnable, and they invite you to run, which is really hard not to, especially at the beginning. But they're also somewhat steeper than a FatDog. So the footing is easy in both races, or relatively easy. I shouldn't say it's easy, but compared to other races, and especially on the North Shore here, and or even Squamish, for example, like extremely technical race compared
Right.
to those two.
Right.
But UTMB, like every single climb is steep, like including the first little bump when you look at the elevation profile. Like, okay, well, that's a nice warm up. And I do remember showing up in the tent at the A station on top of the hill. I was like, whoa, if this is like the shortest climb of the day, I don't know what's going to happen. But and then, take it one step at a time, really.
Right. So that brings us to 2019?
For Javelina instead. Again, last weekend to qualify, and relatively easy in terms of course, easy footing, runnable trails. I was like, well, I'll run as much as I can, and if things go south, well, I'll figure it out. They sure did. I expected them to somewhat go wrong, but yeah, I walked in the last loop. Not necessarily the result I would have liked, but I really I come to realize that that's not a priority anymore, but rather, enjoy myself and soak in the experience more than anything else.
So we were there in 2019.
Oh,
I did my
hello.
first 100K that year at Javelina.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You might have seen our crew tent, because we had, I think there was 10 of us.
Yeah.
Most people running. Norm paced me, but there were 10 Canadians from Ontario, and we had a big Canada flag, and we were right along the.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was
I
us.
do remember exactly in the campground where you guys were located. Now that you mentioned, yes.
Yeah, it's such a great experience. I would advocate for anyone to try that race, because they really do such a great job.
Isn't it fun?
Oh, so fun.
That's why it's results become secondary, really. It was just fun to be out there. To me, it's like, yeah, I'm doing all right. I did all right for 100K, and then the last two loops I was just not having it, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
It was funny because I did Javelina back in 2015, and I remember when we went back in 2019, I was like, this is not the same race. When I did 2015, all I had for the finish line was 2 pieces of stick that I had to cross.
It was a very different race.
And now they have this Hoka tent with lights and dancing Jubilee and everything. Yeah. I go, this is not the experience that I had.
It's such a huge party.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, great times.
In the beginning of Javelina, you were able to run with Casey Lichtai in the beginning, in the first loop?
Oh yeah, it was so much fun with Casey and Camelia Mayfield. We were running together, chatting and singing, and we were all having a grand time until the ladies decided to turn off the heat and started racing, which is impressive to witness. Like, they're so strong, it's incredible. When they decided it was time to race, game on. But it was awesome.
That's amazing. So where were you when you found out about Western?
Yeah, take us.
I was home. We're hosting brunch with family and friends. It's become a kind of a tradition, really, on lottery day to have people over and stream the lottery on the TV in the background. And sure enough, we're having issues with the buzzer. So my fiance, she had to go down the stairs and let some people in. And sure enough, that was the one moment my name was called, and I was all alone in the apartment. But
no,
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Oh no.
So this bunch of friends came upstairs, and I was like, "So, any news?" I was like, "Yeah, you guys missed it."
So now, Western States is not going to happen, or you're going to choose to defer again for 2022? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I already did. Yeah. For a number of reasons. First and foremost, safety. It's just I may be able to make it happen. It's possible to travel down, but then coming back and having to self-quarantine in a hotel at your, it's an extra cost, and I can't really afford to with work and such. It's great that they gave us the option to defer to 2022, and that would have been my preferred option. So yeah, that was an easy decision.
Yeah, they handled that very well. We're very grateful that Craig gave the option for the international. I think it was very helpful.
It was the right call.
It was the right thing to do, yeah.
It's going to feel weird, though.
I do think so.
It's going to feel weird, though, the fact that it's still going to go on without us. That's going to feel weird.
It's, we've seen that with other races too, part of the World Tour, UTWT, even like, for example, like I was lucky enough, and again, I consider myself privileged. I had signed up for Tarawera, and I was able to travel to New Zealand, race, come back, and then everything went south as soon as I came back. But even Tarawera this year was only for Kiwis. Not even the Aussies could travel there. So it's the right thing to do.
When you get to Western next year, are you going to try to stay with Casey again, or is that going to be a different strategy you're thinking?
Well, I'll have to message her. She's been dealing with some injuries as well. So yeah, she's a bit sidelined as well. But yeah, why not?
Why not?
At least for the first half, why not?
Right. And she's the most graceful and nice. She's the nicest, really, human being. So yeah, great experience for sure.
Well, put a plug in for us. We're going to try to get on our podcast. Put a plug in.
Thank you very much for your time today. It was really great getting to know you better, and we're excited to be doing this because in 2022, which gives us more time now, we'll hopefully meet all of the Canadians that are going to be at Western States, and we can have our own little gathering and our own little party beforehand, and I think it would make it that much more special because you'll see each other on the course, and it'll be awesome. And you'll have more crew, right?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really.
All right, so we have our little rapid fire questions for you. All right.
Sounds good.
Do you have a tattoo or tattoos?
I don't.
No tattoos.
Nothing.
Okay. Another sport you'd like to excel in?
It'd be easy to say cycling, but I'd go with cross-country skiing instead.
Okay.
It's the most humbling sporting event ever.
This one's going to be easy. It's kind of unfair, actually, to even ask you. Roma or Milano?
Well, you want the short answer, or I can talk about this all day. I say Milano, especially because I've seen the city improve a lot in recent years. It's worth a weekend. If you have a whole week, go to Rome. If you have a weekend, don't even go to Rome. Go to Milan, enjoy the place, enjoy the area and the place.
Norm did Scenic Trail a couple years ago, so we spent some time in Milan, and it was lovely. Really, really enjoyed it.
It's a very European city. It's not necessarily what you would expect from an Italian city.
Right.
But of course, I mean, it's influenced by history and the culture as well. But it's probably the most European city you can find in Italy.
Yeah, for sure. Favorite running song? What do you turn on when you need to get into another gear?
There are so many. I have a number of different playlists.
Do you run with music?
Depending on the mood. I don't. However, there are those sporadic days where I feel like I need to get a little bit pumped up. What I listen to a lot of electronic, like minimal, like deep house type of things, and that pumps me up, especially at night. I listen to music during races.
Ah, very good. Okay.
If I had to pick, well, when I'm alone, then I put my headphones on. Yeah, I do. If I had to pick one song, it would be Ooh, there are just too many. Don't have me do it.
It's okay, that's okay.
Finish your playlist.
Oh yeah, if you have a playlist on Spotify, we'll.
I can share one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Favorite junk food?
Pizza, no doubt.
That's not junk food. That's
Well,
a whole food
Well,
group.
it depends on the pizza. Okay, let me be more specific. Domino's pizza.
Okay, got it. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
It would be to probably transport myself anywhere in the world anytime.
Especially right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking.
For sure. Okay,
So-
last one.
Yeah.
Gelato or cannoli?
I have to go with gelato. Although cannoli I love cannoli. Cannoli is a Sicilian type of dessert, and we as a family both my parents, myself, and my brother, we all love Sicily. In fact, my brother got married in Sicily.
Wow.
So even though we're not from there,
Right.
and I may had quite a few too many cannoli on that weekend, but on a day-to-day basis, gelato.
Gelato. Yeah.
Nice.
Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Thanks again, guys. Enjoy your afternoon now.
Yeah.
Time for lunch.
Take care.
Yeah, I'll
Ciao.
have breakfast and go on the bike.
Ciao.
Thanks again. We'll be in touch.
Okay,
Sounds
thank you.
good.
Bye-bye.
Molto bene,
Whoa.
Riccardo.
Gelato.
Oh, Norm. So that's the story of Riccardo Tortini.
Wow.
Pretty interesting.
I like how even with all his ticket races, he threw in a UTMB. Hey, why not, eh?
That's right. Sounds like he had quite the experience too.
Yeah. And then
And I'm sure we crossed paths with him at Javelina.
Yes.
We had to have, literally.
of course. But it didn't go too well for him.
No, I think the heat is his
His nemesis.
his nemesis. Yeah.
But he was able to stay with the top females for a while.
That's right.
And then they decided to race.
Those are his words, not ours.
Yeah.
And we wish him well with his injury and that he'll be strong for Western next year.
Yes,
Right?
that's where we'll finally get to see him.
Yeah, can't wait to meet all these fellow Canadians.
All right.
Okay.
Till next time.
Arrivederci.
Whoa.